Welcome back to Kleppers Quarter, Today in History, where we crack open the dusty archives of the past and discover that, yes, history really is just people making the same mistakes in different wigs. And today, October 3rd, is one of those dates where humanity went all in. A wall came down, a state was born, rockets went up, helicopters went down, and somewhere in the middle of it all, Americans decided to distract themselves with Captain Kangaroo. October 3rd is a day of division and unity, conflict and creation. Basically, the sampler platter of history. Segment 1, the German question answered, a nation reborn. On October 3rd, 1990, Germany finally reunited after decades of Cold War division. East and West Germany tied the knot, smashed down the Berlin Wall, and threw the world's most awkward wedding reception at the Brandenburg Gate. You know it was awkward because East Germans showed up with their Trabants, those little plastic cars that sounded like a hairdryer on wheels, while West Germans rolled in with BMWs. It was like a class reunion where one side shows up with Botox and the other brings leftover bread coupons. Helmut Kohl, West Germany's chancellor, pulled off the ultimate political speed dating move. The guy saw his chance and said, forget slow integration, let's just merge accounts, share a Netflix password, and pretend we've always been one big happy family. Meanwhile, Margaret Thatcher and Francois Mitterrand were clutching their pearls like, do we really want Germany united again? We've seen that movie twice already, and spoiler, it did not end well for France. But America was all in. George H.W. Bush basically said, yes, Helmut, unite. Become one strong democracy, join NATO, and also please buy a ton of American-made F-16s while you're at it. And then there was Gorbachev, who eventually said, fine, just pay me enough Deutschmarks to keep the lights on in Moscow, and you can have your unity. Of course, the honeymoon was rough. East German industry collapsed faster than a Jenga tower at a toddler's birthday party. Imagine waking up one day and your entire life savings is suddenly worth less than a McDonald's Happy Meal. But hey, now you can buy that McDonald's Happy Meal because capitalism. Reunification left scars. Aussies resenting Wessies, Wessies grumbling about the solidarity tax. It was less national unity and more bad roommate situation. But 35 years later, Germany is Europe's powerhouse, while the U.S. is still trying to decide if Bud Light is too woke. Segment 2, Firefight in Mogadishu, the battle that reshaped U.S. intervention. Fast forward to October 3rd, 1993, Somalia. A humanitarian mission gone wrong, or as the U.S. military calls it, Tuesday. What started as a raid to nab a warlord turned into 18 hours of urban combat, 18 American soldiers killed, and a whole lot of regrets. This was the infamous Battle of Mogadishu, better known to Americans as that movie with Josh Hartnett. 2 Black Hawk helicopters got shot down, and suddenly, we'll be back in an hour, turned into, we're stuck in downtown Mogadishu overnight with 1 canteen of water, no body armor, and an enemy population armed with RPGs. It was less precision strike and more, oops, we just reenacted Die Hard in real life and we're losing. The most tragic image? A U.S. soldier's body dragged through the streets on live TV. And America collectively said, nope, we're done here. Clinton pulled the troops out, and the phrase Mogadishu effect entered the lexicon. Shorthand for America saying, we'll only intervene if there's a direct national interest, like oil or maybe Taylor Swift. The military learned hard lessons. Don't send soldiers into a war zone with only 1 bottle of water. Don't assume Humvees are invincible, and always, always plan for things to go wrong. It shaped U.S. combat strategy for decades. Unfortunately, it also helped paralyze U.S. policy during Rwanda's genocide 6 months later. Translation: the ripple effects of October 3rd were global, deadly, and proof that one bad day can rewrite history. Segment 3, Forging Nations, Forging Conflict, Iraq's Independence. On October 3rd, 1932, Iraq gained independence from Britain. And by independence, I mean Britain said, fine, you can run your own government, but we're keeping the oil, the bases, and half the good China. Iraq was patched together like a drunk college student's group project. 3 Ottoman provinces duct-taped into a state, ruled by a Sunni Arab monarchy propped up by the British. Imagine trying to force a band with a lead singer, drummer, and bagpiper to all play in sync. It wasn't going to end well. King Faisal I literally wrote that Iraq was masses of human beings devoid of any patriotic idea, which is diplomatic speak for this country is basically three cats in a sack. And surprise, surprise, 4 years later, Iraq had its first military coup. By the 1950s, coups were happening so often, the generals probably needed punch cards. Buy 9 coups, get the 10th free. Eventually, Saddam Hussein came along and said, you know what this fractured state needs? Me, lots of statues of me, and also a few wars. And the rest is blood-soaked history. Independence without unity? Turns out it's a recipe for disaster, and also for a never-ending cycle of Western interventions. Segment 4, Rockets, Bombs, and Shuttles, October 3rd in Space. October 3rd is also Rocket Launch Day. In 1942, Nazi Germany launched the first V-2 rocket, the world's first ballistic missile. It went 118 miles up, making it the first man-made object in space. Congratulations, humanity. Our first trip to space was basically a murder machine. NASA's slogan could have been, from war crimes to the moon in just one generation. The V-2 was terrifying. It came down faster than the sound of its own launch. By the time you heard it, you were already a statistic. But militarily, it was a bust. Inaccurate, ruinously expensive, and it killed more people in production than in combat. Still, America and the Soviets were so impressed they said, we'll take it, and the scientists too. Cue Operation Paperclip, where Nazi rocket scientists were suddenly newly minted Americans. That's right, the road to Apollo 11 was paved with war crimes. Then, exactly 43 years later, on October 3rd, 1985, the space shuttle Atlantis launched for the first time. From Nazi V-2s to reusable shuttles, that's like evolving from a slingshot to a Tesla Cybertruck. Atlantis would go on to help build the International Space Station and launch the Hubble telescope. From raining destruction to gazing at the stars, October 3rd shows how our worst inventions sometimes turn into our best achievements. Humanity, we're complicated like that. Segment 5, America on Trial, from Howell to OJ. October 3rd is also courtroom day in America. In 1957, a judge ruled Allen Ginsberg's poem Howl was not obscene. Basically, the court decided America could handle some swear words, homoerotic imagery, and LSD references without collapsing. Free speech got a win, the beat poets got legitimacy, and suddenly every college sophomore thought they were a prophet because they smoked one clove cigarette while reading Ginsberg aloud. Then, in 1995, America tuned in for the other trial of the century, O.J. Simpson. When the not guilty verdict came down on October 3rd, the country split right down the middle. Black Americans seen it as payback against a racist system. White Americans seen it as a failure of justice. The courtroom became the mirror of America, and the reflection was not great. So on one October 3rd, free speech was expanded. On another, trust in the justice system collapsed. And somewhere in the middle, Captain Kangaroo premiered on October 3rd, 1955, proving that if history gets too heavy, America always finds a way to say, hey kids, look, a man with a giant key ring and a talking moose. Segment 6, Lincoln's Call for Gratitude, Thanksgiving in a Time of War. And let's not forget October 3rd, 1863. Abraham Lincoln issued his Thanksgiving proclamation in the middle of the Civil War. That's right. While Americans were killing each other in droves, Lincoln basically said, how about we pause, eat some turkey, and pretend to get along for one day? The man was trying to hold the Union together with bayonets and mashed potatoes. Honestly, not a bad strategy. Stuffing has ended more family arguments than diplomacy ever has. In conclusion, the echoes of October 3rd. So what does October 3rd teach us? That history is messy, contradictory, and often absurd. It's the day Germany stitched itself together while Iraq was handed a time bomb disguised as a constitution. It's the day America learned the limits of its military might in Mogadishu, but also the day we pushed rockets into space. It's the day we expanded free speech with Howell and exposed our racial divides with OJ. And yes, it's the day of Captain Kangaroo because even in the middle of chaos, America still needs a man in a big pocketed coat telling kids to behave. October 3rd, division and unity, tragedy and triumph, rockets and rabbits. History doesn't repeat itself, but on this day, it sure likes to rhyme.